Wendy Williams has been right in front of everyone for many years, yet so much of what she was going through stayed hidden. People noticed the shaking in her hands, the moments when she seemed confused, and interviews that felt strange or uncomfortable. Many viewers sensed that something was wrong, but very few understood how serious her situation truly was. Now, at the age of 61, Wendy has finally spoken openly about what doctors had been quietly telling her family for a long time. The diagnosis she revealed helps explain many of the things people questioned over the years. Her health struggles, her memory problems, her financial troubles, and even the difficult behavior of her son all connect back to what she was dealing with privately. For months, others controlled many parts of her life while she struggled to hold on to her own sense of identity. When Wendy finally shared the truth about her condition, it shocked many people. The woman known for sharing everyone else's secrets had been keeping the biggest secret of her own life. Wendy Williams was born on July 18, 1964, in Asbury Park, New Jersey. At the time, the town was slowly falling into serious trouble. Her parents, Shirley Skinner and Thomas Dwayne Williams, were both educated and hardworking teachers. Between them, they held 3 master's degrees and believed deeply in education, discipline, and stability. Even with their strong values, they could not protect their family from the changes happening around them. By the late 1960s, tension filled the streets of Asbury Park. By July 4, 1970, that tension exploded into chaos. Wendy was only 6 years old when fires burned through the night, police flooded the streets, and more than 150 people were injured. Entire neighborhoods were destroyed. Her parents were terrified. They packed up their family and moved to Wayside, a quiet suburban area in Ocean Township, hoping to give their children a safer and calmer life. The move changed Wendy's world instantly. In Wayside, very few families looked like hers, and she felt different right away. She was a young black child caught between 2 very different environments. One was the diverse, lively community she remembered in Asbury Park. The other was a mostly white suburb where she stood out no matter where she went. That feeling of being caught between worlds stayed with her. It helped shape the sharp instincts and toughness she would rely on later in life. Wendy learned early how to read a room, protect herself emotionally, and push forward even when she felt uncomfortable. As a child, Wendy had an energy that was hard to ignore. Doctors described her as hyperactive and suggested medication. Her parents decided against that route and instead focused on strict rules and a controlled diet. As Wendy grew, she became taller and heavier than many kids her age. By 6th grade, she was nearly 6 feet tall and weighed around 149 pounds. She stood out everywhere she went, whether she wanted to or not. Her parents believed discipline would help her succeed, but it also created deep insecurities about her body and self-worth. Those feelings followed her into adulthood. Years later, when Wendy spoke honestly about addiction and medication, she often connected her struggles back to the pressure she felt growing up. Despite those challenges, Wendy showed signs early on of the person she would become. She joined the Girl Scouts, proudly wearing her brownie uniform, and volunteered as a candy striper at a hospital. Still, it was anything involving a microphone that truly lit her up. She loved announcing her younger brother's Little League games, speaking with excitement and confidence that already hinted at her future career. While her parents imagined her becoming a nurse, Wendy dreamed of sitting behind a radio booth, using her voice to command attention. That dream never left her. Every summer, Wendy's family traveled to Oak Bluffs on Martha's Vineyard, a place with a rich history and strong black community. For Wendy, Oak Bluffs felt like freedom. She felt seen, accepted, and proud of who she was. It gave her a sense of belonging she often missed during the school year. Even there, her parents reminded her that education always came first. Wendy grew up balancing 2 worlds. One focused on structure, discipline, and expectations. The other was full of creativity, culture, and self-expression. Over time, she described herself as a multicultural woman who happened to be black, a way of explaining how deeply those experiences shaped her. In 1982, Wendy followed her older sister Wanda to Northeastern University in Boston. She studied communications and minored in journalism, but her real passion lived inside the radio station WRBB 104.9 FM. She started as a newsreader and quickly moved into hosting a music show called Soul's Place. The station played hip-hop long before it became mainstream, and Wendy poured herself into every broadcast. She learned how to tell stories, hold listeners' attention, and speak boldly without losing control. By the time she graduated in 1986, she already had years of radio experience and a strong, recognizable voice. Even while she was in college, Wendy spent long hours at Penn Station in New York listening to the radio through a small portable device. She carefully studied DJs from WBLS, Kiss FM, and Hot 97. Frankie Crocker and others became her teachers, even though they never met her. She listened to how they teased stories, controlled timing, and built suspense. To Wendy, this was not entertainment. It was training. She knew she was preparing herself for something bigger. After graduating, Wendy accepted her first professional radio job at WVIS in the Virgin Islands. At first, it sounded exciting, but reality quickly set in. The station focused on calypso and reggae, music she was unfamiliar with, and the pay was only $200 a week. She felt isolated and unsupported, far from home and even farther from her true goals. After 8 difficult months, she decided to leave. She sent demo tapes to stations across the mainland, hoping someone would give her a chance. That chance came from a station in Washington, D.C., in late 1986 or early 1987. While the environment was better, the music format focused on oldies, which left Wendy feeling trapped creatively. She stayed, worked hard, and kept sending out demos. Then, on November 1, 1987, everything changed. Hot 97 in New York offered her a weekend fill-in spot. It was her entry into the city she had been preparing for all along. Soon after, she landed a full-time overnight shift from midnight to 6 a.m. The hours were lonely, but they gave her freedom. She experimented with gossip, shared more of her personality, and built a loyal audience. Though she was fired 2 years later, she proved to herself that she could survive New York radio. In 1989, Wendy moved to Kiss FM, and by early 1990, she secured a permanent morning show slot. She introduced a segment called Dish the Dirt, and listeners became hooked. Wendy was bold, honest, and unpredictable. By mid-1990, the station valued her so highly that they gave her a non-compete clause to keep her from leaving. Her influence continued to grow. In 1993, she won the Billboard Radio Award for R&B Major Market Personality of the Year. She dominated her time slot, and celebrities both feared and respected her. Wendy's honesty often brought controversy. Her station received more than 50 formal complaints about her on-air behavior. Powerful figures demanded she be fired, but her audience kept growing. Wendy understood something important. People wanted truth mixed with drama, and they wanted someone unafraid to speak. She delivered that every day. One of her most unforgettable moments came in January 2003 during a phone call with Whitney Houston. What began as a simple interview turned tense when Wendy asked about Whitney's marriage and plastic surgery rumors. Whitney became angry and defensive, and listeners could hear the strain in her voice. The exchange made headlines and changed public perception of both women. Later, Wendy opened up about her own struggles with addiction. She admitted that cocaine had consumed more than 10 years of her life. She described dangerous late-night drives and risky behavior, all hidden behind her growing fame. She quit in the mid-1990s but kept the truth private for years. When she finally shared her story, it shocked many and reminded people that fame often hides deep pain. In 2006, Wendy faced backlash after revealing private health information about Method Man's wife on air. The fallout was intense and damaged relationships permanently. Still, Wendy continued pushing forward. When she returned to New York in 2001 with the Wendy Williams Experience, her influence exploded. By 2006, the show aired nationally on more than 80 stations, reaching millions every week. She won major awards and earned the title she proudly claimed for herself. Wendy Williams had become one of the most powerful voices in radio, built on honesty, controversy, and an unstoppable will to be heard. Listeners were drawn to Wendy Williams because she did something most hosts were afraid to do. She openly challenged celebrities while also being honest about her own struggles. People felt like she was real, not polished or fake. In 2003, this approach became very clear during an interview with Blue Cantrell. Wendy asked her tough questions about her personal life, her sudden rise to fame, and even her decision to pose for Playboy. The conversation was so raw and emotional that it later appeared as bonus material on Blue's album Bittersweet. Wendy did not stop there. Around the same time, she began talking publicly about her own problems, including her addiction to prescription painkillers. She admitted that she had thought about going to rehab but instead found her own way out. This level of honesty made listeners feel close to her. They believed they truly knew her, flaws and all, and that connection made her audience fiercely loyal. That same year marked one of the highest points in her radio career. In 2003, Wendy won the Marconi Radio Award, one of the biggest honors in broadcasting. Her listener numbers reached their peak, with her show pulling in around 8 million people every week. She also made history by becoming the first black woman to win in her category. The industry could no longer ignore her impact. She had pushed talk radio into a new space by blending gossip, personal confession, and fearless commentary, and now she was being recognized for it. In 2003, Wendy added another title to her name when she became an author. She released her first novel, Drama is Her Middle Name. The book was over 75,000 words long and followed the story of a suburban girl named Ritz who rises to fame as a radio host. Much of the story was inspired by Wendy's own life and experiences in radio. Readers got a glimpse behind the scenes of an industry that Wendy knew deeply. The book performed well and introduced her to a new group of fans. It also proved that she could tell compelling stories even without a microphone in front of her. Wendy's ambition did not stop with radio and books. In 2007, she stepped into the business world by launching her own fragrance called Tangerine Dream. She promoted it heavily on her radio show, describing it as bold and confident, much like herself. Fans responded quickly, and the fragrance sold well. Wendy understood how to turn attention into opportunity, and this venture became another extension of her growing brand beyond broadcasting. A major turning point came on July 14, 2008, when the Wendy Williams show premiered on television. It first aired in 4 cities, New York, Los Angeles, Detroit, and Dallas-Fort Worth. The show was initially planned as a 6-week test run that aired after the morning news. Almost immediately, ratings began to rise. Viewers were drawn to Wendy's Hot Topics segment, her humor, her emotional moments, and her unpredictable energy. Because of its early success, the show went nationwide on July 13, 2009. Wendy had officially made the jump from radio to daytime television, and millions of people tuned in daily to see what she would say next. Her bold style, however, continued to bring controversy. In 2009, she joked on air about Joaquin Phoenix's lip scar, pulling up her own lip to imitate it. The clip spread rapidly online and sparked outrage. Actress Cher publicly tweeted that Wendy should be fired. Wendy later apologized to the cleft community, explaining that she never intended to hurt anyone. Even in the middle of the backlash, more than 1.5 million people watched that episode, showing that controversy often increased interest in her show rather than hurting it. Later that same year, Wendy experienced a frightening health scare when she collapsed on live television during a Halloween episode. Doctors later diagnosed her with Graves' disease, an autoimmune condition that causes the thyroid to produce too many hormones. Wendy explained to her audience that the disease affected her eyes, making them appear bulged, and caused other serious symptoms. She continued treatment while still filming her show. Complications from lymphedema caused swelling in her legs and ankles, forcing her to switch from high heels to sneakers on set. Fans noticed the changes in her appearance and worried about her health, but Wendy kept showing up, determined not to let illness stop her. In July 2012, Wendy delivered another unforgettable television moment during an interview with Omarosa, a reality TV star known for her strong personality. Wendy accused Omarosa of carefully crafting her image using reality show tactics. Omarosa fired back, and the conversation quickly turned tense. The argument went viral online, and ratings jumped by 30%. The episode became a classic example of why Wendy's interviews were considered must-watch television. By 2011, The Wendy Williams Show had achieved international syndication and earned a NAACP Image Award nomination for Outstanding Talk Series. The nomination was announced on January 12, 2011, placing her show alongside long-running programs like The View. It was a powerful sign of how far Wendy had come, from struggling radio host to one of the most talked-about figures in daytime TV. Wendy reached the peak of her television success between 2013 and 2014. During seasons 5 and 6, her show averaged about 2.5 million viewers per episode. For a time, she became the top female host in daytime television, often trading the #1 spot with Ellen DeGeneres among women viewers. In 2014, Wendy won the Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Entertainment Talk Show Host. This achievement firmly secured her place as one of the biggest names in the industry. Her show frequently outperformed strong competitors like Live with Kelly and Michael among women aged 25 to 54, the most valuable audience group for advertisers. People continued watching Wendy because she said things other hosts avoided. She openly discussed celebrity feuds, questioned carefully managed public images, and stirred drama involving stars like Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston. Viewers tuned in daily because they never knew what she might say next. Her success on television also boosted her publishing career. In 2011, she released her memoir, Is the Dead or What?, which sold over 100,000 copies and became a New York Times bestseller. In the book, Wendy shared stories about her radio scandals, her marriage, her struggles with addiction, and her rapid rise in media. In 2013, she followed it with Ask Wendy, a book based on the advice segment from her show. That book also sold over 100,000 copies. Fans appreciated her writing because it sounded just like her voice on TV, direct, humorous, and brutally honest. In 2015, something unexpected helped her show dominate social media. A segment known as Celebrity Revenge became a viral hit. Wendy would pretend to be a celebrity and deliver sarcastic responses to controversies or criticism. Fans shared the clips widely online. By the end of 2015, the show generated more than 10 million monthly interactions across Facebook and Twitter. This digital success helped Wendy stay relevant and competitive in a crowded daytime television landscape. By 2016, Wendy began expanding her brand into live events. She hosted show-related outings during New York Fashion Week, giving fans a chance to see her in person. While her professional life continued to grow, personal challenges became harder to hide. In 2019, Wendy revealed that she was living with lymphedema, a condition that caused painful swelling in her ankles and legs. Paparazzi photos had already sparked concern, and Wendy addressed the issue directly on her show. Even when the swelling looked severe, she continued attending events and used her platform to raise awareness about the condition. At the same time, her interviews continued to make headlines. Seasons 7 through 10 featured major stars, including Beyoncé. However, Wendy's comments about Beyoncé had caused controversy years earlier. In 2012, she told her audience that Beyoncé spoke as if she had a 5th-grade education. Fans were furious, accusing Wendy of disrespect. Wendy explained that she was surprised by how Beyoncé spoke during their interview, but the backlash was intense. Despite moments like this, her unfiltered approach helped her maintain top 10 ratings year after year. In 2018, Wendy faced one of the most damaging controversies of her career. In January, she stated on air that a then 14-year-old alleged sexual assault victim of R. Kelly had consented, and she said she was tired of the Me Too movement. Activist Tarana Burke responded immediately, criticizing Wendy's comments. A petition on change.org demanding Wendy's removal from television gained over 70,000 signatures in just days. The backlash grew even stronger after a CBS interview with Faith Rogers, who accused R. Kelly of sexual battery and false imprisonment. Wendy later apologized on Twitter and made a donation to cleft palate charities, but the incident left a lasting mark on her reputation and raised serious questions about her sensitivity toward victims. Another major backlash followed on February 13, 2020. During a Valentine's Day segment, Wendy told gay men to stop wearing skirts and heels and made a remark suggesting that menstruation defined womanhood. The comments caused immediate outrage from the LGBTQ community and led major sponsors to reconsider their support. The following day, Wendy gave an emotional apology on air and online, promising to educate herself and do better. However, this was not the first time she had been criticized for similar remarks. Stars from RuPaul's Drag Race had previously accused her of being dismissive or disrespectful toward LGBTQ people. Even earlier, in 2016, Wendy had faced criticism for repeatedly dead-naming Caitlyn Jenner and stating that Jenner was not a real woman without surgery. Over time, these moments built a pattern that damaged her relationship with parts of the LGBTQ community. While Wendy continued to apologize and express regret, many viewers felt that the repeated controversies reflected deeper issues in her understanding of gender identity and inclusion. Despite all the backlash, Wendy Williams remained one of the most talked-about figures in entertainment for decades. Her career was built on honesty, controversy, vulnerability, and fearlessness. She rose from radio to television by saying what others would not, sharing her own pain while exposing the secrets of celebrities. But as time went on, the same boldness that made her famous also became the source of her greatest criticism, setting the stage for the complicated and difficult years that followed. LGBTQ advocates strongly reacted to Wendy Williams' comments, especially well-known drag queens from RuPaul's Drag Race such as Detox and Alaska. They publicly criticized her and said her words were harmful and disrespectful. As the backlash grew, people began collecting old clips from her show that showed a pattern of similar behavior over the years. These clips included moments where she rolled her eyes at Ross Matthews, used phrases like "no homo," and made comments that many felt were dismissive or offensive. Wendy never offered a clear, direct apology for many of these moments, and over time, the controversies continued to stack up, slowly damaging her relationship with parts of her audience. In 2021, Wendy shocked viewers again, this time during the height of the Free Britney movement. On air, she angrily cursed out Britney Spears' father, Jamie Spears, while criticizing the conservatorship that controlled Britney's life. She used strong language and accused him of abuse, leaving the studio audience stunned. Clips of the moment spread quickly online, and her comments became part of the larger national conversation surrounding Britney's fight for freedom. When Britney Spears was finally released from the conservatorship later that year, fans celebrated worldwide. Wendy's emotional outburst helped bring even more attention to the issue, but it also caused people to question her emotional stability during live broadcasts. In July 2022, after 13 seasons, the Wendy Williams show officially ended. Wendy had already taken an indefinite break from the show in October 2021 due to serious health problems, including a COVID-related infection and other medical issues. In June 2022, the network announced the show's cancellation and confirmed that Sherri Shepherd would take over the time slot. Wendy was unable to appear for the final episode, but a tribute video aired in her honor. By that point, more than 3,000 episodes had been broadcast. When the show's social media pages and official website were deleted in September 2022, many fans felt it marked the end of an era in daytime television. While her professional life was unraveling, Wendy's personal life was filled with turmoil. She married Kevin Hunter in 1997 after meeting him 3 years earlier at a skating rink in New York. Their son, Kevin Hunter Jr., was born in August 2000. For many years, Kevin served as Wendy's manager and business partner. Wendy had experienced multiple miscarriages before her son's birth, and her family life was shaped by both deep love and constant struggle. In 2008, Kevin faced a sexual harassment lawsuit that was quietly settled. However, everything changed in 2017 when reports surfaced that Kevin had been involved in a long-term affair with Sherri Hudson and had allegedly fathered a child with her. The betrayal devastated Wendy. In April 2019, she filed for divorce, and it was finalized in January 2020. Their New Jersey home was sold, and Wendy chose to keep Kevin's last name despite the end of their marriage. Once the truth about the affair and the child became public, Wendy's world began to fall apart. She entered rehab in April 2019 to address alcohol addiction. After the divorce, those close to her noticed serious changes in her memory, decision-making, and overall behavior. Her once sharp judgment seemed to fade, and her health continued to decline. In 2023, Doctors diagnosed Wendy with frontotemporal dementia, although she publicly denied having any cognitive issues. Around the same time, her financial situation became increasingly complicated. In 2025, Kevin Hunter filed a $250 million lawsuit, accusing Wendy of hiding $48 million during their divorce. Wells Fargo froze her bank accounts, claiming there was suspected financial exploitation. Wendy's legal team argued that she was being unfairly targeted and said the account freeze left her unable to access her own money. As legal battles increased, Wendy became more isolated, and her life began to look nothing like the confident, outspoken host fans once knew. Her relationship with her son also began to break down. In 2025, Wendy accused Kevin Jr. of misusing her money to pay for luxury items, including boat parties and reckless spending. In an interview, she said he was a good person but admitted that at that moment, he was being horrible to her. Court documents showed that her son apologized, but judges ruled that he could not guarantee her financial safety. Not long after attending his college graduation, Kevin Jr. was evicted from his Miami apartment for failing to pay $4,316 in rent. Although the eviction was later dismissed, it highlighted how unstable their situation had become. Wendy's court-appointed guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, requested additional medical evaluations, further deepening the tension between Wendy and her son. Despite her struggles, Wendy had once tried to turn her pain into purpose. In 2014, she launched the Wendy Williams Foundation, which focused on fighting drug abuse and poverty. Her own history with cocaine addiction inspired the foundation's mission. Over time, however, her personal world grew smaller and more complicated. Her son, once her main source of emotional support, became part of ongoing public and legal disputes. Her family attempted to help guide her, but the Lifetime documentary later revealed that even their efforts often conflicted with Wendy's strong desire for independence. Wendy's health battles stretched back many years. In October 2017, she was diagnosed with Graves' disease after fainting during a live Halloween episode of her show. The condition caused her thyroid to produce too much hormone, leading to bulging eyes, shaking hands, rapid heart rate, and extreme fatigue. Fans noticed changes in her appearance and behavior before she publicly addressed the illness. In February 2018, Wendy confirmed her diagnosis and took a 3-week break from the show. Doctors later said her condition had been severe before treatment began. She struggled with mood swings, high blood pressure, and exhaustion. Graves' disease can cause serious complications such as stroke, heart failure, and bone loss if left untreated. Even with care, her symptoms became more severe over time. In May 2022, her situation became even more complex when a court placed Wendy under guardianship. Wells Fargo had frozen her accounts after claiming she was vulnerable to financial exploitation. The court appointed Sabrina Morrissey as her legal guardian and described Wendy as cognitively impaired. Wendy strongly disagreed, saying she was mentally sound and that the guardianship felt like being imprisoned. Her lawyers argued that a bank advisor had made claims about her mental health without her permission. In 2024, court documents described Wendy as permanently disabled and legally incapacitated. The guardianship gave others control over her finances and medical decisions. Her ex-husband challenged the ruling, but judges upheld it. The full extent of Wendy's struggles became public in 2024 with the release of the Lifetime documentary Where is Wendy Williams? The film showed moments of confusion, heavy drinking, and difficulty speaking. Wendy's team later sued, claiming she did not have the mental ability to consent to being filmed. Medical tests conducted at Weill Cornell Medicine confirmed diagnoses of primary progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia. These conditions are irreversible and affect speech, personality, and behavior. The documentary shocked viewers and revealed how much pressure Wendy had been under since her divorce. In July 2025, on her 61st birthday, Wendy told TMZ that she wanted freedom from the guardianship and compared her assisted living facility to a prison. Independent medical tests confirmed her diagnosis, and the court chose to keep the guardianship in place. In March 2025, police conducted a wellness check, and Wendy was hospitalized at Mount Sinai West. She said she simply needed fresh air and wanted to consult new doctors. Her ex-husband's lawsuit was dismissed, and Wendy insisted in interviews that she was sober and mentally capable. She promised to fight for her independence and reclaim control of her life. Her lawyers continued pushing back, arguing that newer medical tests contradicted earlier ones, leaving the public divided and uncertain about the true state of Wendy Williams' condition.